All right. So we are looking at introduction to SQL, which is same thing as a database management system. So in this section, what we'll be looking at is the introduction. Then we'll also look at how we can set up our system to be able to write SQL query statements. So let's start with the definition. What is SQL? So the full meaning of SQL is structured query language. It's a programming language used for managing and manipulating data stored in a relational database management system, which is abbreviated to RODBMS. Now, the word relation here is talking about table. So if I may just give us a diagram of what we are talking about. So it's just like you have a data table like this, where you have attributes and the rows or the records. So just to explain to us why it is called relational database. So the whole of this is called relation, which is also known as table. And a table structure consists of attributes, which are the column, and then also the ID, which are the serial numbers, that is the row. So that is why it is referred to as what? Relational database. So in other words, we need to understand what is database first before we can know why the word relational is used. So a database is like a data storage where you probably store records, and these records are not stored directly in that database. They are stored in the database through tables. So which means that we can have one database that can consist of multiple tables, and that is why the word relational database is used. That is a database that have multiple what table holding different record. So let's see a span sheet on the SQL. So if we are to define it from another perspective, so we can say that SQL is a standard language for accessing and managing and modifying data in that same relational database. So this is just trying to highlight the key essence of this programming language. As we all know, almost every website has a place where data are stored. And even the cloud storage today, like Azure and the rest of them, they all have where data are stored. So one of the benefits of learning this language is that you'll be able to access data, managing data that covers all kinds of manipulation, which we'll get to understand better later. So we have creating the database itself, we have populating the database with table, and then also populating the table with record. And then before we can start managing the records in such database. So that is under managing, modifying data in that same type of database, because we have different types of database. Actually, we have MongoDB, we have NoSQL, we have SQL. Well, out of all this, it's out. Let's give it a few minutes to join back for you. Okay, so like I was saying, I was trying to explain database or SQL from another angle for better understanding. So the key takeaway here, we should know that SQL is a programming language that helps us to access, to manage, and modify data in tables, which are also referred to as relational database. That is a database that contains tables with related records. I hope you are following. Okay. Now, let's quickly discuss some basic SQL concepts. So like I told us, this is more of laying the foundation, what we need to know theoretically about the language. So there are some terms that anybody who claims that he or she understands SQL need to be familiar with. So you cannot be speaking SQL without understanding database. You can see even the few minutes I have spent, I have been using the word database. Now, what is database? Database is one of the basic concepts of SQL, which simply means a collection of related data. A collection of related data. So like the diagram that I drew the other time. So we can have, let me see if I can still picture it again. So let's assume that we have this as the database itself. So let's say this is the database itself. Now, when we say is the collection of related data, we are talking about tables that will be holding values inside this database, that one way or the other, those values are related. So for example, if we assume that this database is about a company's sales data, you know, in that company, we are going to have columns, we are going to have tables that will be holding different data. So this is like table 1, and this table 1 is holding different types of data relating to the same organization. So this can be table 2. This can be table 2, also holding different sets of what? Information. But logically, all the records that are in table 1 and table 2, they all pertain to the organization. So you cannot agree when we say that a table or a database is a collection of related data. So that is what it is. Now, looking at the word table, looking at the word tables. Now, like I've said before, another word that could represent table is relation. It's relation. So each of these, they are relation. Each of these, they are relation, which means that they are table. And a table is a two-dimensional array elements based on its structure. So this is like one table, and this is like the second table. This is the second table. Now, there is a connection between this table and this table. And that connection is what we are referring to as the relationship. So the relation itself is a table. Then when you now use the word relationship in SQL, you are talking about how one table record is connected to the other. That is when you use the word relationship. Now, another key term you will need to know is the columns. Now, the word column is what I initially explained as the attributes. The headings, for example, now this particular column can represent ID. In SQL database, the first row is referred to as what? The ID, or the primary key. The primary key. Because the primary key is what differentiates one table relationship from the other. So this could be another attribute, this could be another attribute, this could be another attribute. So all these attributes can also be referred to as field names, which in layman we call headings, but professionally we refer to them as what? Either attributes or column. Now, just to explain, why are they referred to as attributes? Attribute gives additional information about the principal element. So the principal element here is the entire table. And when you title this ID, it means that this ID is giving us additional information. It's describing the type of value that will be entered what? Here. So here we take another attribute that will be describing another type of what? Information that will come in here. So here will be another attribute that will also describe another set of what? Information that will come in here, that will also come in here. All right, I hope you are following. So that is what we refer to as columns, or we can call them what? The attributes. So if you look at the definition, it says individual element within a table. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and they are within your relation or table. Now let's look at rows. Rows are individual entries within a table. Entry here talk about records. When we say entry, we are talking about records. Records are logical collection of value under each of the attributes. For example, if you have labeled here ID, you are going to put probably number 1 here. You are going to put number 2 here. You are going to put number 3. Now, if you have labeled here, maybe customer name, then you are going to enter someone's name here. You are going to enter another person's name here. Now, the collection of this under this attribute, plus this under another attribute, plus this under another attribute, horizontally, they are called what? Rows, which means that at the end, the rows represent records, just like the way the columns represent the headings. Now, another basic SQL concept or term that we need to understand is queries. In fact, the whole essence of learning this language is for you to know how to write query statements. Query statements, they are commands that we write in order to exploit certain information from the record stored in that table that we have been talking about since. So what is query? Practically, the word query means taxing, like making a request, specific request to get certain information from a table. So for example, you can have a table with different value. Let's say it's a 6, or let's say this is student database. And in the student database, you have collected different kinds of what? Information on the students. It could be their matric number, their name, maybe their classes, or maybe their states. And then definitely the students will be from different states. So at some point, you can say, okay, I want to tax the database to display only students from a particular state. So for me to tax, for me to ask, for me to request the database to give me, to fetch out only this specific record from the data table or database, I will have to write queries. I have to write query. Now, these queries are split into basic, intermediate, and advanced, which I'm going to take us through. So we'll start with the basic, we'll look at the intermediate, then we will now end it with what? Advanced. So when you claim you know SQL as a programming language, it is expected that you know how to write different queries, language, or statements that can be used to tax that database in order to fetch or to request for certain information. So let me get a response if all is going well with the concepts before we move to the next topic.
Yes, you can go on.
Okay. Now, let's look at. Now, what I am going to do is that we are going to leave this and go and see how we can set up our system for us to be able to deploy this language. And then after that, we will not come back and start talking about what? SQL commands. All these are SQL commands that means different things. They are like code, they are like functions within SQL that whenever they are involved, they have their own meaning. So the best way we will learn this is when we are practicalizing them. So let's quickly switch to setting up our server and the framework that we shall be using to deploy the programming language. So that will take me off from my slide. So the next topic now is how do we set up our development environment? Because it's a programming language, and every programming language requires an interface, a platform where it can be deployed, where you can write and execute its word code. Just like when we are learning Python, we have to consult which application. Let me hear from you. Which application were we using to implement Python?
Brilliant.
PyCharm, right?
Sure.
So that PyCharm
Yeah.
was an IDE, which means Integrated Development Environment, that helps us to write Python code and also what? Execute the code. So the same thing, since we said SQL is a programming language, so we need to also, set up a development environment. An environment, a platform that helps us to speak, to write, particularly those query statements that we just spoke about. Now, SQL is a server-side programming language. We have the client-side programming language and client-side what? Programming languages. The word client is used to refer to the front end, the user's end, while the word server side is used to refer to the back end. So I am telling us that SQL is not a front end programming language, it is a back end. Because website database are not always at the front end. They are always what? At the back end. Now, for that reason, for you to describe it as a server-side programming language, it means that it is a language that is run or that runs on a server. So all we need to understand here is what is a server, because we are going to install a server first before we talk about what? The framework. So a server is like an application. It's like the engine that will be funding this language through an interface. Did you understand that? A server is like an application, it's like an engine that will be empowering this language, that is SQL, through another framework. So we are going to have a framework, but the framework will be empowered through with the what? The server you install. So we have different servers. We have Microsoft server, we have MySQL server, and so many of them. So the one we are going to use is MySQL server. That is the server we are going to install. And then the framework we are going to use to practice, to write and execute SQL query statements will be Workbench. So we are going to use MySQL server, and then we are going to use the Workbench as the framework that will be empowered by that server. So I have already set up mine. I've already set up my server. So what I'm going to do is that I will do as if I want to reset it up. So once I get to the point where I will not be able to continue because I have installed mine. I will now switch to your screen to complete the remaining parts. So to install our server, you open a browser. You open a browser, or if I may ask, whether maybe through any training, whether you have set up the server before. Have you
Okay,
set?
it's from my previous laptop.
Okay, not on this particular one, right? Okay, so now that means let's take the step again. So at some point, I will come on your screen so that we can see how some of these steps can be fully considered. So you open a browser and then you type download. You type download my SQL server. Download my SQL server. So once you type it, you are going to see this link from Oracle website. So I would advise that we follow the one that specify their website to avoid being trapped by malicious file. So you can click on this, then you have to be conscious of the version. So make sure that you take note of the version you are downloading, which is what 8.0. So I'll click on this, I'll follow this link. I expect you to, if possible, you are doing the same thing so that by the time I switch to your screen, we can be on the same page. So that will prompt you to this interface. So from here, we are going to select a particular version that will come with the workbench so that we don't finish installing the server and then we will now start installing the workbench separately. So just like I'm going to use one stone to kill two birds. So I will ensure that I select the one that constitutes both the server and the framework. So you click on this, go to download page. Go to download page. I hope you are on it also. You are on it, right? Okay. Now go to download page, and then from download page, we have to select the version. The version is already on the highest. So you make sure that you are selecting the highest version at the moment, and then you select the platform you want to install it. You can specify that you want to, in fact, let's select Windows because you are installing it on what? Windows computer. Now, like I was telling you, select the version that say what? MSI installation. This version comes with the framework, which is the workbench that we intend to use to implement the language. So I can actually use any of this, but I'm going to go with this. So you click on this. Why I'm going with this? Because if you look at the volume of the file, I think from experience, this one contain what I'm looking for. So click on download, and then you give it some time. But once you click on download, and you are prompted to this environment, this is just like SQL or Oracle, which is the owner of this, are trying to get you to sign up so that you can get subsequent updates. So I can say, okay, I'm not interested. Or you have SQL or Oracle accounts. So you can go there and what? Download it from your account. But I can say, no, no, thanks. Just start my download. I'm not interested in signing up, neither what? Signing in. So I will just click on this option. The moment I click on this option, my download is expected to start. So I hope you are also on it. Yeah, so the download have started, so you give it time to complete the process. So once your own is ready, let me know as well.
Mine is done.
Okay, so if your own is done, then we switch to your screen. I think it's like your own will be faster. Like I told you, I've already installed mine. So let me enable you to share your screen so that we can move faster. So you can share your screen now. Let's continue the process from your end. Are you sharing?
Yes.
Okay, it's coming up.
I see it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue the process. So make sure that you follow the step. So this is just like I'm the one operating, so it shouldn't be ahead of me. So when I say click, you click so that I can explain. Now, as you can see, we have different setup options and we are asked to choose. The first one says server only. Now remember what I told us, that the reason why I am going with that MSI, because I want to download and install the full package, the one that will come with the development environment. So if I go with server only, it means that I will have to install or download the framework, which is the workbench, separately. So now I want you to tap on the second one. In fact, just go straight to full option. That is the one we want to click on. Now, you say that once you select full option, look at the item listed. I said you should not be faster than me. That's the instruction I gave. I'm using your screen to explain. So go back, click on back, click on back, click on back. There are things I want to explain first. You shouldn't be the one to click without my authorization, please. Now, what I'm looking at is that if you look at the list of items we have in that box, you can see install all of the products available in this catalog, including the MySQL server. There are two things we want to install. So we need to ensure that whether they are mentioned. So we have seen that one of them is mentioned. MySQL shell, which is part of what we need. MySQL router, we need it. MySQL workbench. So I am concerned with the two of them, MySQL server and MySQL what? Workbench. So with that, we are good to go with the full option. Now click on next now. Click on next. Click on next. All right. Now, the moment you click on next, those items that were mentioned, they are now ready for you to download them. After the downloading, another step will now come up for you to install them. So now you click on execute because they are already selected. Just click on execute under. Click on execute. Then you wait until they are all downloaded, ready for installation before we proceed. And madam, hope you are also following.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so as you can see, all the packages are fully downloaded. Now, which other option do we have? Just hold on. We should be seeing, I'm not seeing all your buttons. Let me move this out. I needed to see the other button you have though. Which other button do you have
Also,
under? Okay, you have next, right?
yes.
Okay, so click on next. Okay, click on next. I think I can see it now. Now click on, okay, so all the items,
Execute.
good. All the items are ready for installation. So you execute so that they can all be installed. Click on execute. So we'll also wait until all of them are fully installed before we can proceed to the next step. The first one is completed. At least it's going now. Okay, it's progressive. Okay, so I can't see the button at the bottom. What do you have there? Okay, next,
Next.
right? Okay, so click on next. Let's see. Okay, so ready to configure. Click on next. Click on next. Now, all these settings, we are adopting the defaults. You must not touch anything here. Now, but we need to take note of one thing here. The port number, all SQL uses port 3306, which is highlighted there. So just click on next. Just click on next. Have you clicked on next? Okay. Now, we are still going to click on next for us to configure the connection password. Just click on next. We are going with the first option, which is use strong password encryption for authentication. Now remember that we are downloading two things at the same time. The SQL server and the workbench, which is the framework in which we are going to implement the language. So now your password here, you must write it down and make sure that it must indicate strong. So for you to easily make it strong, you have to combine special characters, not just number. So you can combine like @ so that you can make it strong. Make sure that you write down the password because we will need this password to connect the server with the framework. Make sure that you write it down. I'm emphasizing, write it down because if you do not, you will start the entire process. Okay, perfect. So it's strong. Now you click on next. Click on next. Now click on next. Then click on next. Right, now click on execute. Now we'll also wait for the process to complete. So all these commands need to be executed.
It's done.
Okay, so click on finish. Then click on next. Don't worry, still click on the next. Select next. Sorry, finish rather. Click. Okay, now this is where we are going to impute that password that you entered the other time in order to connect it. So the username is root. We are not changing that. Then once you are done entering the password, to check if the password is the same with the one you use, click on check. Perfect. So you can see connection was successful. Then click on next. Then click on execute to execute those two commands. Then finish. Then click on next. Next. Right, now finish. What happened? Can't see your screen. Just hold on. Is there any button on that to click? There's none, so you hold on. I believe it's doing some background configuration. So you can just minimize this interface. Just minimize this interface. Minimize it. Minimize it. Click on the minimize button. I can no longer see your screen, please. Continue sharing. Screen is covered. Okay, so perfect. Now, at this point, we have successfully set up our server and the workbench has also been installed at the same time. So all we need to do is to create the development environment, which is the file where we are going to be writing the SQL code and also be executing them. So now the last step is how to create connection. So click on that plus icon there. Good. Click on it. Click on it. Now you enter your connection name. Enter your connection name. Enter your connection name. Where you have connection name, just type the name. Let's say practice. Let's say practice or learning SQL. Just put a name there. All right. Now, that particular password that you enter, we are going to save it so that each time you want to launch this file, it will pick it from there and use it to connect to the server. So you click on that store in vault, click there. Click on it. Now enter that same password. Then select OK. Now we're going to test connection. Don't click OK yet, not that OK. I hope you have not clicked on it. If you have clicked, they will assume that everything will have been well. If you have not, click on test connection. We still need to confirm it again before we select OK. Click on test connection. Click on test connection. Good, perfect. Click on test connection. I thought you have typed that password before. Now, this time around, when you finish typing, click on that store password. Good, and click OK so that it will not keep asking you for this. Click OK. Now, finish to connect to my SQL, whatever. Go and try it again. Test connection, because this connection must be approved. Not there. Yes, click there. Let's see. Let me see. We are not supposed to be having this. I hope you are entering the right password. Click OK. Perfect, perfect. So you just type the right password now. Click OK. Now, finally, you click on OK. Click on the OK after the cancel. We are not putting anything under that default schema. Click on OK. Now you have your file created. So this file that you have created is the IDE, what we offer you an interface to run and execute SQL query statement. Now let's launch it. Let's go to the development environment. Click on the name of that file. Just click there. So perfect. So finally, we have been able to set up a development environment. So at this point, I will switch back to my screen and explain the few things remaining. Why you remain on this screen, but just stop sharing. Just stop sharing. I hope you can confirm my screen now. You can see my screen, right? Okay. So now let's assume that tomorrow you want to write SQL code. How do you start? So you click on the search bar here, you type MySQL. By the time you type this, you should be able to see the workbench, which is the development environment. So you click on it, and that will take me to that interface that you are, but it will show me the list of file, and then I will specify which one I want to go in with. So just hold on for it to come up. So once we get to the development environment, we just explain the interface to us, and then we stop there. So the next class we start looking at the how to create database and start learning how to write those SQL query statements. So now, like here, I have my file as Prosper, so I will just click on it, just like you have already done from your end. All right. So all this, while mine is this filled up with write-up or code, because these are the last code that I've used to trace someone. But your own case, you are not going to see more of this. You are not going to see more than 3 databases. So now, but what I actually want to explain is, let me close them. Let me close them so that just to show you how your own will look like. I want that to. So now this is the workbench. And remember that the workbench is just to offer us a platform where we can write and implement SQL code or query command. So the workbench is divided into different sections. So of course, let me start from here. The whole of this section, let me switch to the administration. This is how you may find your own, being the first time you are coming in. So you see all these tools you are seeing, they are supplied by the server that you install. So let's assume that you install the workbench without installing the server. It's possible. You can install the workbench separately without installing the server. Or you have installed the server and the workbench, but they are not connected, just like the way you were entering the password. What is going to happen is that when you come here, the whole of this will be empty. You are not going to see anything here. So for us to see all this development command, it shows that the server is in touch with the framework, which is the workbench. And the reason why we are getting no object selected, because we have not selected what any relation or table. Now, how do we now, so this is, I'm just trying to explain this section. Remember, the topic I am explaining now is what? The workbench what? Interface. So the whole of this one is called your navigators. So this is where you have the development functions offered by the server. Now, this development section is divided into administration and schemas. You can see the way I am switching from one to the other. The schemas is talking about your database structure. So these are the list of database. In other words, inside this database, we have tables that are holding what? Different what? Record. So as you can see it. So if I click here now, you see that what? This is a table with what? Records inside it. But in the next class, we might get to where we will start, loading in data, because one of the benefits of you learning this at this level that you are learning this, it might not really be for just data analysis. It might be that at the end of the training, a company can engage you as a database administrator. So I'm going to train us to that kind of qualification, not just using SQL to analyze data. So we are going to learn it from the perspective of becoming a database what? Administrator. So if you are going to be a database administrator, then there are certain things you need to know beyond just using it for analyzing data. So you are expected to know how to write a query statement, to create table, and to run those instructions. So I just want you to know that in a database, you have table. In a table, you have record, like I explained from my slide the other time. Now, I've explained the whole of this part. Now, let me talk about this section. This section is your query environment. This is actually the IDE, the development environment, where you can write. So if, for example, it's not open like this, how do you create a new query environment? That is that section that will help you to write and execute your queries. So you go to File, and then you select what? New query, or you press Ctrl T, and that will give you what? A new query. So from here, you can start writing and executing your SQL commands. Now, another section we need to understand is this section, the whole of this section. So here is what we refer to as a kind of additional command that can help you, just like help. So in case maybe when we start exploring this SQL command, maybe there's a particular one that you are struggling with knowing what it does. So you can just come here and say, okay, I want to know, just like I wanted to explain to us in our slides. I say, okay, I want to know what the selection or the select is used for. So once I click here, it will what? Provide the documentation. I hope you are still with me. Provide what? The documentation, giving me some explanation regarding to how to implement that command or what that command is used for. So that is what we do here. So in case you want to use any of these SQL command and you want to know more about them, you can exploit help here. That is what it is. Then there is another part that is very important that we need to understand, which is the bottom section here. So I want to see if I can expand it so that we can see it. So the whole of this part is very important. So once you execute a command here, this is just like your output, like the output terminal, just like Python. Remember when we were running code, there was a place where we were getting the results. So, but in this case, this place will be telling us what? The output. And the output here is that you successfully what? Ran a code. And it return what? 100 what? Rows or records. So once you write any command, for example, right now we are currently using customer as a database. So if I want to use Digitech, so I can just come here and say what? Use. I will type the name of that database just to verify that section before we call it a section. And then if I execute it now, you will notice that what? The command output will be here, which means that what? I have just executed a command. And because I'm getting this check, it means that what? The command was successfully executed. If I try to enter a wrong syntax now, let's say I want to run something like this, you are going to see error. So anytime you run a command here and you have this check here instead of this, it means that what? The command was successfully executed. So with this, I have explained the workbench interface. We now know that this is where we have access to the administration aspects. That is where we have the functions, the command that the server is providing that is making us to run, to write and execute SQL. And then we have where we can view the structure of our database, which are also known as the schemas. And then we also know that we have a section that can show us the output, and then of course this help section. So if there's no question, then we are going to stop here. So because we are starting late, the class will be 1 hour, 30 minutes. Any question? I can't hear you. I can't really hear you. Maybe it's your network. Any question from what we have learned so
Me
far?
now.
Okay, yes,
Hello.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Oh, I've been talking since I don't know you cannot hear me.
Okay, maybe it's network.
Um, this thing, I don't have any question, but
Okay.
there is this thing. I'm to choose optional module for my next semester. So I don't know if you can help me and help me with that.
You have to do what?
Optional module for my next semester.
I don't understand what you say optional module. As
I'm to
in,
choose optional module
okay,
for my
okay,
extra
okay,
module for my next semester. So I wanted you to,
okay.
if you can look at them and help me in the decision.
Where is the
Help me through it.
where is the one? Can you send it? Is it part of those slides?
Let me send it now. I'll send it now on your
Send it
WhatsApp.
now. Let me look at it there.